All right, everyone, buckle up, because today we're diving deep into a story that feels like something straight out like a tech thriller movie, you know?
Oh, yeah, definitely one of those hold on to your hats kind of stories.
Exactly. We're talking about WannaCry.
Ah, WannaCry. I think most people have at least heard of it by now, even if they don't remember all the details.
Right. It was huge news back in 2017, like global panic, kind of huge. But we're going beyond the headlines today.
Yeah.
We're going to unpack how it worked, why it spread so fast, and get this, the almost unbelievable stroke of luck that helped bring it down.
You're really not kidding about the stroke of luck part either.
Okay, so for anyone who needs a quick refresher, WannaCry was ransomware, right?
Basically, yeah. A nasty piece of software that infected computers, encrypted all the data, and then demanded payment to unlock it.
And the way it spread, it's kind of wild. It exploited this vulnerability in Microsoft Windows. I think they called it Eternal Blue.
Yeah, Eternal Blue. It was like finding a master key to millions of computers worldwide. And the scary part is almost nobody even knew this vulnerability existed. It's not like people were, clicking on dodgy links or anything.
So like, even if you were super careful online,
didn't matter. If your system was vulnerable, you were at risk.
And this thing spread like wildfire, right? Hospitals, businesses, it seemed like everything was grinding to a halt.
Oh, it was absolute chaos. Remember what happened with the UK's National Health Service?
Oh, yeah. They were hit hard. Surgeries had to be canceled, ambulances rerouted.
Because their systems were totally locked down. It showed just how vulnerable we all are. This wasn't just some abstract tech issue. It had real-world consequences.
Absolutely. And it wasn't just the UK. I mean, WannaCry hit over 150 countries.
Hundreds of thousands of computers affected. FedEx, Telefonica, universities, government agencies. It brought so many things to a standstill.
It really makes you realize how interconnected everything is these days,
For sure. And in the middle of all this, you've got Microsoft scrambling, right? Talk about pressure. They had to come up with a fix, and fast.
And they did, right? They released those emergency patches.
Yeah, it was actually incredible how quickly they mobilized. They pulled it off, but it was definitely a close call.
Okay, but here's where things get really interesting. That kill switch. Tell us about that.
All right, so imagine this. A security researcher is digging through the code of WannaCry, trying to understand how it works, right? And they stumble across this weird thing, almost by accident.
What do you mean, weird thing?
It's hard to explain without getting too technical, but basically, the attackers had built in this mechanism, this domain name, almost like a way for them to track the spread of the ransomware. But they didn't realize that by doing so, they'd accidentally created a weak point.
Okay, so how'd that become a kill switch?
Well, the researcher realized that if they could register that domain name, if they could effectively flip that switch, they could stop WannaCry from spreading any further.
Wait, so just by registering a website?
They were able to cut off the ransomware at the knees, basically. It's honestly one of the most bizarre things I've ever seen in cybersecurity. A pure stroke of luck.
It makes you wonder, what if they hadn't found that kill switch?
It's scary to think about. The damage could have been so much worse. And that's the thing about WannaCry. It's a stark reminder that these kinds of threats are out there.
And it could happen again.
Absolutely. That's why things like keeping your software up to date, having strong passwords, and backing up your data, those aren't just tech things, They're like basic digital hygiene.
Yeah, like washing your hands, but for your computer.
Exactly. And WannaCry showed us just how important that is.
So much for feeling safe online, huh?
Well, you don't have to live in fear, but you do have to be aware and careful.
That's some good advice to end on. Be aware, be careful, and maybe say a little thank you to those cybersecurity researchers working behind the scenes to keep us all safe.